And I was gonna read it.
Yeah, those dates were, the new dates were all right.
This isn't about. This isn't about.
As long as you
It's tomorrow.
You know, we can.
I know.
Very nice of you, thank you.
It's a good feeling to be independent.
I'm sure it is.
All right, you're all set.
But I don't know why I didn't get the email.
Oh, look back.
Okay.
So many in this game.
Um,
I should do them the first one or just not.
Ready? All right. I call this Town of Vinalhaven Select Board meeting for March 7th, 2023 to order. Roll call, we have Jake Thompson and Leslie Dyer virtually. Don Young, myself, Pam Alley, Elizabeth Bunker, Deputy Town Clerk, and Marjorie Stratton, Town Manager. Number 2, approve the agenda.
So
Do we have any, do we have any
I have
amendments?
the bond
adjustments?
documents for the selectmen to sign.
Okay,
So it's just a matter of signing the transfer station bond, the bond documents.
okay.
Maybe
Old business,
um,
new business,
it's 8D.
8D. All right. I move, we approve the agenda as amended.
second,
All those in favor? Leslie and
Mhm.
Jake also.
Yep.
Okay, oh yeah, you can see. Jake Haynes. I'm sorry. Number 3, approve the minutes from the February 21st, 2020 select board meetings
That was the 2 meetings, the.
with the Knox County
In the morning.
and then, okay. I move we approve the-
I'm gonna abstain from both of those because I wasn't at either one.
Okay,
Okay, thanks, Jake.
I move we approve the minutes presented.
Don.
All those in favor?
So 302, Pam and Jake. Okay,
Number 4, approve and sign treasurer's warrants, number 36, so moved.
second,
All those in favor? Number 5, communications. Don't believe we have any, correct?
Other than that,
I think
let it go.
we'll take that up, check that up now. All right. Number 6, speakers from the floor.
Thank you. I'd like to make a brief report from the Housing Committee. We've been going for about 2 years now. We've done a lot of research, we've done a lot of work. Keith McPherson, who we got a grant to bring out to do energy audit and air sealing, has been delayed because he had problems with helpers, he had COVID, and now he's fallen down a set of basement stairs and can't work for 2 months. So he'll be out in May to do the first 8 houses, and hopefully we'll have enough money left over to do 8 more. So just wanted to let you know about that, because that's something that we've been working on and we hoped that it would get done before winter, and sadly it hasn't, because these folks really need help, but we'll get it done in May, assuming he heals up. We've done a lot of research trying to figure out how we can create housing out here. We've talked to other island housing groups. I talked to Adam Alexander in North Haven the other day. They built some tiny houses, but they're not legal for year-round use. I mean, everything is so complicated. So we came up with a budget at the last meeting for 3 modular houses brought out from Rockport Homes on the barge with a crane, assuming we pay $100,000 if need be for land. I talked to Darren and Kevin and everyone on the island about putting in roads, septic, wells, all that. It came out over $900,000 for three houses of 651 square feet. That's an enormous amount of money for 3 families, 3 small families. It's 2 bedrooms. So I heard recently that Janet Mills is asking $30 million more for housing. And on the basis of that, I called Jason Bird, the fellow from Penquist, who's been trying to be a partner to us for quite a few years. And I asked him if he was still interested, and he said, well, why? And I said, well, I heard there's more money, and I think there's still money left in the fund that's allocated just for island housing. So I just want to know if you're still interested. He said, well, I'm still interested. I said, well, then, would you write a letter to the selectmen and tell them that you're interested? So here I have a letter from him for all of you, expressing his interest in doing something out here, given the fact that it would cost almost $1 million to create housing for 3 small families. I feel like he's the best thing that ever happened to us. And I just want to see if there's some way that you can work with him to try to make this happen. I mean, I told you, we talked about his proposal in the past. And I also, given that you need housing for the deputies, and I wondered if maybe he could allocate some housing for town employees, for deputies, for, you know, essential services. I don't know. Here's one for you.
Thank you.
Certainly. For some reason, yours is black and white, Margaret, sorry.
It's partially black and white.
Must be running out of ink. Okay, well, that's it. Thank you. Do you have any questions? Please let me know.
Ellen, I have a question.
Are you, Leslie?
Yes, where does he propose this housing be?
Well, he has to have town water and town sewer.
Right,
And we took him around and showed him a lot of property, town-owned properties. None of them had town water and sewer except the old net factory site. So he would really like to do something there. And he would be happy to come out and visit with you all about it and see what could be worked out.
I can email Jake and Leslie a copy of this tomorrow.
Good, thank you.
Mhm.
Any more discussion on this? Or should we table it for the next meeting?
I mean, what's the absolute earliest that we're even gonna be able to do anything with that site? 24, 25? I mean, how long is he gonna be able to wait?
It's a good question. I don't know when we'd be able to start construction at that site. I think the earliest would probably be next year.
And that's
Right.
assuming that that's what the town wants us to do with it. We haven't even really put it out there.
If the town gets full ownership of that property, we'd still have to put it out to the town at large. I don't. I'm not saying they would say no, but it would still be up to them to decide.
What is the holdup on it?
The town doesn't own fully net factory. It's owned by
Yeah.
the water district and the town, correct?
Mhm.
Right. So
And
we can't go forward with a construction project if we don't have sign off from both
Yeah.
parties.
and sign off is a problem.
Well, we're working on that. They still need a space, an office space, and that's what we're trying to solve that situation so that we can take full ownership. Phil,
Does, is the water district gonna eventually move down by the sewer plant? Is that a done deal?
that's the current plan, yes.
So they release their interest in the property in question with the provision that they don't have to leave until they have new accommodations down there?
Certainly we can ask them that. I'm not opposed to this. We can reach out to Jason and see what his plans are. I mean, I have some questions like who this housing before? He said 3 small 2 bedrooms.
No,
Or
that
three
was the
families.
Housing committee were trying to build the house.
Right, I understand, but so this would be what, apartments?
Yeah.
So what family can live in an apartment?
Well, when we talked to him about this previously, the housing committee said we can't just have small apartments, there are families, even though this is not the most ideal site
Yep.
for families, and he agreed that some of the the funding specific for islands could probably be used for larger apartments, but the other funding that would come from the state or the federal government would probably be smaller apartments. And he's willing to try to do whatever is possible creatively to make the best use of the site, the best use of the number of spaces, and to do the best for the town. It would be, they take care of it under certain restrictions. My understanding is for 60 years. There'd be social services available. They'd clean up whatever pollution is on the site. That's because it was been a garage for a long time. So if there are any pollution issues, but Jason's probably the best person to talk to about this, but I think his last paragraph indicates that if the community wanted there to be housing there, they could make an arrangement where the water district and the town would use the site as long as they needed to. But if there was permission for housing there, then he could go after the funding. He can't ask for funding unless he knows that the town is going to approve this and that he's going to have right title and interest.
Okay.
So the whole issue is funding. The funding disappeared before and some new funding is about to come up. And so we just don't want to miss the chance again.
That funding would be specific to the town or would it be through him? I gather that it sounds like the town would have to make the application.
No, Jason would make the application.
But on our behalf, or,
No, on Pancas's behalf, but in agreement with the town.
yeah,
But he'd have to have right, he says, I think the words are right title and interest. So we'd have to know that the town could give permission for this.
Marjorie.
I'm just speaking for myself, but I just don't think that we're there yet. There's a lot of legal work that still needs to be done. And I also really feel strongly that the community needs to have a series of meetings to discuss what they want to do with that property. Yes, we need housing. That's, everybody knows that. But is that what the community wants to do with that piece of property? It's a very significant piece of property in the downtown area. And as identified in the downtown master plan, the plan was to form a committee or a group, whatever you want to call it, to look at what the community wants to do with that space. I think, and if we move forward quickly with this, we'd be giving the property to this private nonprofit organization. And I just don't think that we're there yet. I understand what Ellen is saying, and I understand that there is a lot of money for housing around, but I don't think we want to act quickly just because there's money now. I think it's a big decision for the community to make in that important space in our downtown area. And I'm just speaking from, that's the way I feel about it.
and who would have priority if we went ahead with the project in terms of the ability to have a place there? Is it gonna be Vinalhaven residents first, or is it gonna be Knox County as a whole?
I think it's based on income, isn't it?
It depends, but Jason said when he came here to a public meeting, Jake attended the meeting for the Board of Selectmen. He said that because they would be building it here, people in the community would know about it first and they'd be the first to make applications. So they'd have a priority default of where we are.
Millie, you have your hand raised.
Yes, I'd just like to add to that. I think with the Down Street project going on for the next couple of years, there's probably a good chance we'll be using part of that property, if not all of it, for lay down areas and office trailers and such. So before we get moving too fast, we need to consider that too and try to get that wrapped up.
Someone, Ellen.
He's aware of all of that, though. That was the whole point of just trying to resolve this and making sure that the town could continue to use the property until the Down Street project was finished and the water district is moved. The question is whether or not the town wants to have housing there.
Well,
Is there a possibility of having a meeting about that?
I was just gonna say, while we can't move forward with them with us signing anything with Penquist, we can at least start having the conversation with the town. What does the town want to do with that space? Because housing is definitely a need. I know others, and I feel this way too, a community center is also needed, so. There's limited space that the town owns that we can do things with, so. I don't see why we can't start that conversation now.
Is it possible, Ellen, also to incorporate, I know the town wants some kind of housing for a deputy.
Mhm.
Is that possible to incorporate an apartment into this?
Very likely.
I don't know if that will be enough space for the deputy and his family. That's my concern. A family of 4 living in an apartment. Yes, it's housing, but
Looking at 3-bedroom.
it's not enough, in my opinion. It's better than nothing, obviously, but it's not enough.
You have to talk to Jason about the design. That's not, I don't
Well,
think
the
any of
big,
that's.
if you have a set space, the bigger unit is gonna take up more space for someone else, correct? So you're limiting the number of people that can live there. Anyway. I think we
Can I
can start having that conversation. Hey, go ahead.
say, I was at that meeting and he said that Vinalhaven people would find out about it first, but he didn't necessarily say that they would actually get it because the funding's coming from the state. So it sounded to me like anyone from the state of Maine that applied would have the same footing as anyone from Vinalhaven, but I don't know that for sure. He just said people from Vinalhaven would hear about it because it's a project out here, but he didn't say, yes, they would get it.
Okay. All right, so I think at the very least, we need to make some announcement, get that out there, get the community together to see what the thoughts are on what wants to be done. George.
I just want to echo what Marjorie had said. We did put a lot of thought into this when we were doing the downtown plan. And the controversial opinions, not controversial, there's lots of different opinions on what that space should be used for within the community. And maybe now is the time to get this reuse committee going. Because it's going to take probably a year, I would imagine, for a committee to work its way through discussions and whatever focus groups or whatever we're going to have. Maybe there may be a need for a consultant to come in, look at an engineering study to see what's feasible. There's a lot of moving parts to that. And since the downtown project is already sort of chugging along several years after its plan, maybe now's the time to get the plan and the discussions going, but in a formal way with this reuse committee so that you have more of an outreach across the community. And maybe it won't meet his timetable for a grant application, or maybe it will if it's a year from now. But it seems like now's the time to start that.
Yeah, I agree. Anyone else? Ellen?
I'd just like to mention that the first floor of the building couldn't be used for residential use because of the flooding factor on both sides. So he said it could belong to the town could decide whatever they wanted to do with it and raise money and run it. And it could be a community center, it could be anything. It
Okay.
just couldn't be residential.
Okay. All right. Move on to, are there any other speakers on the floor? All right, move on to 7, committee and departments, reports, appointment, Woodard and current status report.
So we have Brent Bridges from Woodland and Curran here. I don't know if you'd like to review.
In real information? Make sure I have everything. Where can I stand?
If
You can stand, you
we'll
can
pick you up.
have a seat if you'd like.
Here. So thank you. Being in person, I gotta make sure I don't have my notes, I'll have to see. So, so I see what I wrote. So a lot of moving parts these days on a lot of different projects. Probably start with the downtown project. Are we doing a downtown project update later? So I'll stay off of that because I won't want to remember what Gabe is going to talk about later. For an update, again, we are proceeding on the downtown project, the first phase, which is the
we'll talk about a little bit later, which is the Main Street phase. We've got a couple more phases coming that we can talk about later as we get rolling on the first phase, the downtown project. So we'll start planning and process that this summer. A lot of public participation and input on the next phases of this project. Other projects, and I know this is, I think this is good news, is the transfer station. And so we had a successful bid a couple weeks ago. Dan Ford was the low bidder. It came in right on the budget. So that's always good. We actually met with Dan and his electrical subcontractor and his civil earthwork subcontractor today. And so to kind of talk about the transfer station and how that's going to go, that's again, a 4-month project as far as start to finish, as far as getting everything done. There'll be a couple more months of cleanup, but probably a 4-month total construction project. They want to get started. We came and looked at some things today. We talked a little about change of operations during this construction, because it'll be a little bit of a change for people to see how we can build the new transfer station while continuing to keep operations and making sure we get recyclables and residential trash in place. So he will probably start moving materials maybe as early as next week. He's thinking about getting aggregates and gravels out. And so we'll start stockpiling that. It'll probably be at least a week or so after that before he starts real work. And so what we'll do is communicate, through the wind and to the town's website, kind of where we see that going and what changes that might be for people as far as circulation and things like that. We're not intending to have anything stop as far as what's being accepted now is still going to be accepted, but there will be some changes in circulation and things like that, some modifications. And so to get that going, so we're pretty excited about that, because I know that's been something that the town has wanted for a very long time. And hopefully this is the best time to do it in the spring, mud season. And I know Millie's really excited about having the container is holding up the retaining wall right now. And so we've got a lot of moving parts out there. And so hopefully we'll be able to get something really in place, but progress will be earthwork first, moving some things, grading along. They really want to get the wall done as the first part of the project, and then kind of paving, grading, getting the compactor pads in place and things like that afterwards, and the electrical work for the upgrade to finish probably kind of the end of the job. So pretty excited about that. We'll do more of an update as far as the exact time they'll start, but people might see in the next couple of weeks, materials going and being stockpiled out there at next door on the adjacent property. And so, and more to come as far as that. So that's exciting. I think that's about all. We got a couple other things. We're still working on the upgrades to the fire station that we'd like to be able to get done this year to be able to accommodate the fire truck. And there's a couple other things we've got going. We're doing Vinyl Cove. We've got some work that we need to complete our study on Vinyl Cove, which is to see what we can do as far as raising the elevation of the road and drainage and things like that. We have to get one more series of readings this spring to be able to finalize that work. So I've covered downtown project, future phases. Don't want to take away from what we're talking about before. Transfer station moving forward, fire
Public
station,
Works.
public works. Couple things on public works. Like anything else, we'll say that the project was 95% worked right, Millie? It's 95%, maybe 97% on a good day. But whenever you have a project like that and you've kind of moved into that facility, there are a couple of remaining nagging things that happen to that facility. And so there's some funding still left in the original project that we want to utilize to kind of correct those. But the nagging things are, when we moved into that building, there was no drainage in the building and the floor doesn't slope towards anything. And so what happens is the snow and the ice that falls off the vehicles that come in, hit the floor and then run everywhere. And so we've got to do some work to be able to keep the water from running into Millie's office and the kitchen area and the lounge area. And so we've got to do some work to be able to keep the water in the bays and out of the offices, and then do some work on the floors. And there's a couple other like nagging things that we need to just fix up to clean the project up. And so sometimes we also move in, see what's not working. She certainly knows what's not working. And so I think we'll try to address that in the next couple of months to get that cleaned up and kind of put to bed. But I think everything else is working out there besides the flood she gets when you plow snow, her office gets flooded. I don't
Yes.
know what the problem is necessarily. She's got boots. But with that said, more of a nuisance, and so we'll try to do some work to correct that. So I think that to finish up with kind of the end of the public works, fire station, Vinyl Cove, I think that's all the things.
Vinyl Cove. You're looking at raising the road. Are you looking at any other option like restricting the flow coming into the meadow?
Yes.
Okay, good.
So all that and just gathering the data. We had an unfortunate, I don't know, we had a couple of measuring devices that we put out there last fall and one of them somehow floated away. And so we had one measuring device that worked and one that floated away somewhere. So we've got to reestablish I'm not saying, somebody might have taken it. I don't know what they used at home for, but anyway, we had a couple of devices and we got to reinstall those this spring, see if we can get some more stuff. No, I'm not accusing anyone. It ran off. Somehow it ran off. The gauge ran off somehow.
That was
so-
probably storms.
Just storms, yes. So storms. And so we'll reestablish that, get some new
Some
levels,
names,
because we
yeah.
want to make sure what we're proposing is based on real information that we gathered and then move from there. I think that's all. What did I miss?
You wanna do the,
Oh, the slides.
slides?
Yeah, sure, I love
I put them on my desk, I put them on my desktop. So.
Okay, yeah, so you just have to screen share, or no, you have to, not screen share, yeah, you have to screen share the window. Do you want me to come over?
Yes, please.
Are you going to lead with the easements or should I complete easements?
You can talk about easement. That's
So on the downtown project, one of the things I think we've talked about
Yeah.
is because you've got a lot of funding partners and making sure that, all the work is done exactly as it should. And we went through the downtown project and we've talked about this before is the town doesn't necessarily own all its assets. Or the water district doesn't own all its assets. And so sometimes the water line kind of wanders out of the right of way onto private property. And sometimes the sidewalk kind of wanders onto private property. And so in doing the overall project, in doing all the survey work and everything else, what we established was, in order to construct all this, we should get everything right. So you should own everything you're investing in. And so through a long series of work, we have put together and contacted each and every person about getting an easement. And it could be as simple as, the sidewalk's right here and it's like a foot on your land and it's 4 feet on the town's land. And can we get that easement for that foot? So the sidewalk's already there, but we really need to have an easement to have it there in the future. And so we're doing that and we've contacted all the people that we need some sort of a drainage easement or a sidewalk easement or road easement, just to make sure everything you're doing, you have the right title and interest, to be able to do it. And so it's taken some time, but it's the right time to spend on it right now to make sure that when you go forward, you've got everything that you're investing in that people have said, yes, you can do it. And so that's the process we're going through is getting easements signed. Everyone's been contacted. And so we're collecting the signed easements as we go and answering questions on the project as we go. So time consuming, but it's not unusual in municipalities, small towns to not own everything that you have put things on. So, yeah.
Okay. Oh, you can say, I'll stand over here, because you gotta fill in, or you don't have to.
I'm more of the filler and I'm just the background.
Okay, so Lizzie, I'll have to ask you to advance our slide, so you can go to our next slide. Okay, so we're just gonna do a quick recap overview, because it's been a while since we've talked about the project, but as Brent said, we're in the first phase of the project, which is the green phase. Oh, no, sorry, it would be is it the green phase? Economic, yeah, EDA, sorry, I can't see that far. So, did you say what it was? Green phase, no, we haven't talked about it. Okay, so just for folks who are unfamiliar, so this funder, Economic Development Administration, the Water District is a partner, Maine Department of Transportation is also a partner. So this is the sidewalk from the ferry terminal up to Water Street, redo crosswalks, redoing the road, some road elevation. Big components are replacing the water main from High Street to
Water Street, so doing that in conjunction with the water district. Drainage is a huge component. There's pretty much like no existing drainage downtown, even though we see the catch basins, they don't go anywhere. So actually putting in a functioning stormwater management system is a huge component of this project, and also some sewer climate adaptations across the bridge downtown is also a component of this project. Am I missing pieces of this? Okay, so this is really coming from the downtown master plan. Safety, huge focus. Safety, pedestrian access into buildings is a huge component of this. And then certainly the stormwater management and just building overall resiliency in the downtown. And then, as Brent said, we're moving into the next phase, which is the blue phase. That's the Northern Border Regional Commission. NBRC is the funder for that project, along with the town. So that is both boat ramps, boat launches, and the pilings and the bulkheads that need to be redone around both the fish plant parking lot and the downtown parking lot. And also with that comes the relocation of the water district building, if that, assuming the agreement between the water district and the town is able to move forward, that will be a facility built at the wastewater treatment plant. And then the final phase of the project, in terms of funding, which all of these are happening sort of in conjunction consecutively, but because of the funding, there's a little bit of overlap that has to happen. So the community funded project was essentially earmarks that we got from Senator King and Congresswoman Pingree. Those are coming through EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, and those will help us extend the sewer from where it ends on West Main Street over toward I think we're going all the way to the end there, Pat, like for the co-op, right?
Yes,
all the way to the end of the
absolutely,
co-op parking lot. There'll also be some more components that will be addressed for the sewer climate adaptation plan and the sewer fiscal sustainability plan, components of that, and additional drainage components will all be part of that funding. So I don't know if people have questions about scope or what's happening there. More will be shared as each project component moves forward. So the other big piece that people want to know is funding. This is written out on the town website. There's a fact sheet. There's also a page that talks about funding. You can download some information about funding. So this gives you a sense of like the project partners, where, state allocation, what has been used from town reserves that have been generated over probably the last, I don't know how many years, a decade at least, it seems like, for those town road, sidewalk, harbor reserves. And then our federal funders and their contributions to the project. So if folks have any questions about funding and you want to talk about that in greater detail, love to talk about the money. So, and then the other thing that everyone wants to know, which is a good thing to know, is project schedule. When are things happening? So as Brent mentioned, we're in easements right now. We have sent the Economic Development Administration phase of the project designs to EDA. They can't formally approve them until we have the easements taken care of and sent to them. Once all of that happens, they can approve the project. We can put it out to bid. And so that's where we're at right now. And then hoping through, toward as we get closer to summer, the project's out to bid, we can secure the contractor, and over the summer, we can mobilize and move materials so we can begin with the water main this fall. That's the hope. And then we're also right now working on the NBRC project design and approval. Moving on this fall, once we begin the water main, be able to do the EPA design and get that approved. And you see we have major construction hopefully wrapping up in 2024, maybe ambitious, but we're just gonna keep hoping that that's the timeline and move forward. So that's what we've got for timeline right now. So I think the only other thing I wanted to put out there so people know where to find this information on the website. I try to keep it up to date. There's a lot of detail on there, but you should be able to find what you're looking for. If not, you know, there's a contact where you can reach out to me for more information, or you can talk to Marjorie. But simple way, you can search in the search bar for downtown project, or you can look under the government tab in the navigation bar. It's downtown project, and there's the URL right there too. You can also subscribe for updates. I don't do them that often, but when I do them, you will get them. And the other thing I want to say for folks who are unfamiliar with the downtown master plan, all of the projects that we're doing were generated based on the downtown master plan. So to find out sort of the how and why and how we got here, and it's a great read. I would suggest taking a look at the downtown master plan, at least the 22-page summary, if you don't want to read the 200-page report, which is great. Very great and entertaining. So I think that's it. Are there things you want to add?
The only other thing I'll say on because it's been longer than we thought to do the downtown project, and because we're doing all that due diligence on easements, we were all collectively worried about contractors being kept up to speed on the project. And so we've essentially designed the entire project. We're doing some nuanced things at the end, but we've got the basic design done. Permits are done, easements are the last piece. And so we thought that it would be nice to be able to put all the plans and specs out for viewing by the contractor.
Yeah,
So
we can't
hit-
put anything out to bid because it's not approved by the funder, but people can look at
Yeah.
the plans.
So everything's out there because we've had a lot of contractors say, how's it coming? What are you doing? And rather than say, it's coming, you know, we said, hey, let's put it out there, let them see it, not for bid. But if you have questions, if you want to look at it, if you want to kind of stage it, at least you can see it, ask us questions. So we're really ready to go. And so we thought that was the best way to keep momentum kind of in the right direction. And we've got, I think, 10 contractors that have expressed some sort of interest in the project. And so they've got it to look at.
Public can view it.
What's that?
Public can view it too.
Yes, I think you have on the website. I think we have a link on the website.
To the latest plans?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you said these aren't the latest, or they are the latest?
These are not what you'd see on the
Website.
town's website, and what we put out are, these are October, so
Yeah.
would be the most.
It's the
recent.
first link on the downtown project page. It says most, or like final project designs for E EDA.
Brent, what's the market for bulk out there? Contractor land right now?
Better. You know, last year was horrible, you know, because everybody had enough work, we're worried about all kinds of delays. I would say that the three things that are most concerning these days, electrical stuff is terrible. All kinds of electrical gear is terrible. The good news is we really don't have a lot of electrical work on all this project, so that's good. Second thing is the recent bunch of funding that's coming out has new Buy American provisions in it. And so that has caused contractors to kind of rethink how they're pricing things and what does that mean? They know they have to comply, but they don't know what that means as far as how long is it going to take to get things and how much is it going to cost more than they thought. And so that's a little bit of the unknown right now. The whole with new funding comes new restrictions, right? I mean, things like that. So I would say, but what we've seen a lot more interest in contractors this year than last year as far as what's going on, what have you got? So they're more interested in looking at your project than they were a year ago.
Any other questions from the board online?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can you get out of that? You just have to stop screen share. Yeah, stop share. You should go back.
Thank you.
Maybe it might just take a second. Oh. We're back.
Thank you.
All right. We'll move on to new business. 8A, approve and sign municipal quitclaim deeds, 46 High Street, 28 School Street.
There were two quitclaim deeds, two properties that had old municipal liens as well as sewer liens. And you just need to issue quitclaim deeds to get rid of or to discharge all of the old liens on the properties.
Okay.
Everything has been paid.
Great. Any questions? Do you need a motion?
Well, you have to sign them, and I'm not sure that. It's not gonna hurt, just make a
All right,
motion.
make a motion, we sign the municipal quitclaim deeds for
Second.
46 High Street and 28 School Street. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Is that,
8B, open public work truck bids.
This bid is for the
Thank you.
350 pickup trucks. On a Vinalhaven, to whom it may concern, with this letter, I would like to submit a bid for the 2012 F-50 Ford truck with plow for $8,100. That's Bruce Avery. I would like to offer a bid for the GMC 8500 and the F-350 of $10,000 and offer free removal of the sander wiring from the F-350 and install on the new Public Works pickup. If the combined offer is not accepted, I would offer $8,500 for the GMC. Well, we have 8,100 for the pickup. It looks like 8,500 for the GMC.
Those are the two bids.
I just have those two bids.
Okay.
Millie, any thoughts? I don't know if she did.
No, I'm here. I'm not sure the wiring has been already completed by Jake for the new sander or the old sander to be put in the new truck. That was completed last week or the beginning of this week. Everything's running together. I don't know what the cost outright would be for that. If that were to be billed versus but I don't know what to put on a price tag on that, but the total, that was 85 for both trucks.
10 for both.
10,000 for both of the trucks. And free removal of sander wiring. And installed in the new pickup.
So remove all.
if the combined offer is not accepted, I would offer 8,500 for the GMC. So if you have a bid for the pickup for 8,100 and a bid for the GMC for 8,500,
Right,
Yeah,
sell both for 16,600.
Mm,
yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
That sounds reasonable. Okay,
you need to look at that.
sure. Take a look. Okay,
That's with the plow, huh?
yes,
Yes, it's with the plow gear. But it does have a broken frame. The reason that we're not having the frame fixed is where the brake is. It's highly doubtful that in its repair that it will be able to hold a plow again.
okay, so this one's for the F-350 and that is for GMC. Right,
That's the total
for both.
for both,
but he-
yeah,
But we
okay.
can, if we set this one and that one,
right.
we sell both. Okay.
That's what I see it all.
Yep.
Is that how that's reading? It's not 10,000 for one and 8,500 for the other?
No, it's 10,000 for the pair,
For the pair and
but if that isn't.
just the
rejected,
way it was worded,
he wants the GMC rate.
right? It's the way it worded, it was like,
Well, I make a motion, we accept Bruce Avery's offer for the Ford F-350 of 8,100. And I also make a motion that we accept Jake Stanley's offer for the GMC for 8,500.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Okay. 8C. Vacant property ordinance. Bill,
So I'm speaking on behalf of Historic Downstreet, which is a 501c3 formed about 10 years ago, concerned about a particular building at the time. And we subsequently restored the old fire hall while other things were in abeyance. And presently, we're concerned about the acquisition of one building and then two buildings on Main Street and the subsequent demise of those buildings because nobody's paying any attention to them. And we want to encourage the Board of Selectmen to consider the adoption of a blight ordinance or a vacant building ordinance or the equivalent that would address primarily decreasing property values, public safety, and number three, stop the progress of those ongoing deterioration. We've researched blight ordinances in other communities. We know that there's a state ordinance that provides some provisions, but they're kind of bare bones, and upwards of 20 other main communities have adopted blight ordinances of their own because the state ordinance really didn't give them the authority that they needed to do something of consequence. And at your, we'd be happy to provide you with more information about the specifics of those ordinances and what might be done, but for the time being, we would simply like to encourage the board to consider adoption of a blight ordinance and to hasten that consideration to the degree that's possible.
do you have a copy of the state
Dangerous building.
The dangerous building. I know we've discussed it before.
I don't have a copy with me. I've looked at it, it's online.
Okay.
Would this be an update to our land use ordinance, or would it be part of the planning board? or-
Well, part of this discussion has already gone to the planning commission.
Okay.
And the planning commission has agreed to put it on their agenda for a discussion, because we had already, or not we, planning commission had already decided not to address it in the land use ordinance, to let the state dangerous building law stand as what we would use.
Mhm.
I think this is different. I guess personal objection to things like this is the enforcement issue. It's just another, it's another ordinance that somebody's gonna have to enforce, and they're very difficult to enforce.
Mhm.
What else for that? And expensive. So I guess those are my early points, but it is gonna be discussed at the planning commission meeting, which has been delayed. It was gonna be this week, but some members couldn't attend, so now it's the last week in this
March.
month. Yeah.
March 30th.
Is that the meeting that was supposed to be tomorrow night?
Right.
Okay.
When you say expensive, do you mean
No,
like,
tomorrow night is the planning board. Planning commission was gonna be
Thursday.
Thursday night. Yeah. Isn't today Tuesday?
yes, when you say expensive, do you mean like in
Well,
lawsuits
even-
or?
well, even with, for instance, the dangerous building, we've done that a couple of times here, and it's expensive, there's legal fees involved, and the threat, if you will, is, you need to stabilize your property, or we're gonna stabilize it, and then we're gonna charge you, send you a bill. So you have to have some teeth behind it. In other words, you have to be willing to spend money in legal fees and spend money in, okay, well, what are you gonna do about it if the property owner doesn't stabilize it? And it is in fact dangerous,
Mhm.
and you have to do it. And then you have to try to get the money from him or her. So anyway, you look at these ordinances, the town's gonna be spending money, in my humble opinion.
Phil?
Go ahead, George.
Well, I was gonna suggest that, the ordinances that are in place in 14 of the communities that I've looked at have a vacant building registry they've established. And there's a pretty well-defined definition of what does vacant mean. And it's the owners of the properties are required to file a permit, basically to get a vacancy permit. There's an annual fee for that that's pretty stiff. And in theory, that revenue should be paying for code enforcement officer time to periodically look at those buildings, see if they're, meeting the standards of upkeep that are required. So in theory, it should be a fee for cost operation. But I understand Marjorie's concern that, we already have, a lot of work for our staff. But part of me also thinks, why do we even have ordinances if we're not going to enforce them? And we should just take down all the speed limit signs on Vinalhaven if we're not going to enforce those, but nobody wants to do that.
Well, they also get thrown.
I think that philosophically, we shouldn't be backing away from enforcement simply because it takes time and costs money. Isn't that why we have ordinances to begin with? And so the other towns that put this in place, because the state blight ordinance really doesn't do it for the vacant storefronts and the missing, the downtowns that are falling apart, basically, and are becoming vacant. And this is a way for them to try and address that, put some pressure on the landowners, the property owners, to take action, to fill their storefronts, to make sure that they're, having their apartments actually used and not empty, and take care of their buildings so they don't leak and pose a health hazard. So.
Okay, Phil?
And Marjorie, did you say the planning commission meets again this Thursday?
No, we were going to, but Matt Eddy from Mid-Coast Council of Governments is the one that's helping us and facilitating the meetings. He couldn't make it for personal reasons. So it's been, rehashed. When can we all meet? And it got rescheduled to the 30th. That,
30th this month.
yes.
Well, what if the building, like the two buildings that Phil's talking about, has an apartment that's lived in, but I mean, that's not vacant.
And I think,
So that's,
yeah, I raised that question of myself also, and that suggests that this is targeting a particular owner or property. But it's a bigger topic than that. It's bigger than one person. It's the whole idea of property values across the island. It's not just on Main Street. There are also neighborhoods where this is happening. So sort of all tied in with the idea of vacant buildings in neighborhoods that get bought and turned into Airbnbs, or it gets bought by an investor and just sits on it and leaves it vacant for a period of time. They're all sort of one and the same in what that does to the feel of a neighborhood or the feel of a downtown. So I look at this as something even bigger. If it doesn't get implemented immediately to address the current situation, fine. I'm looking at it as a much bigger topic that's across the entire island. It could be zone specific. I believe that you could constrain it to a specific zone, like a residential commercial zone. There are exemptions in it for people who are away serving in the military, for example, or seasonal residences or waterfront properties. There are exemptions that can be put into it. But I think just the idea of having something that will encourage owners to take care of their buildings. That's really what this is about.
Having dealt with vacant building ordinances for 20 years, there are some things to beware of. So I would suggest that anything you come up with, or the planning commission comes up with, that you run it by your lawyer first to make sure he's going to be able to win in court. Because otherwise you end up, and sometimes cities don't care. They want an ordinance, even if we're going to lose in court, just to apply the pressure, and then the people who have the money to go to court, the city backs off and says, do whatever you want. But some of these ordinances are very difficult to win in court. And so you don't want to go there, I don't think, where you've got an ordinance that if you try to enforce it and they decide to settle in court, you know you're going to lose. So run it by your lawyer first.
Okay.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we've been trying to do in general, right, with our land use ordinance and planning commission, so. Ellen,
The vacant building ordinance is an interesting idea, but I think basically as a community, we have to tackle what's happening on Main Street. We have a lot of empty buildings. With the place next to the post office, where you're supposed to be able to put up signs and stuff, the community bulletin board, that whole thing is totally in pieces with tape all over it and broken. But we have to fix Main Street. We have to make Main Street viable and active the way it used to be. And there are a lot of empty buildings, and I don't know how we solve this, but as a community, we have to figure out how we're gonna have a viable Main Street and have rents that are affordable, have spaces that are appropriate. We should ask the Star of Hope Foundation and the owner of these other buildings, what are your intentions? We're redoing the whole Main Street, the sidewalks and everything, we're trying to make a vital downtown area. And yet how vital is it going to be with all these empty buildings? So I think we should engage them in conversation and say, we're concerned about our community. None of you really live here. And we do, and we want to have a vital community. So if you're not going to be part of that, then please, let's find another way for you, like a way. Because we just can't have this. We can't just watch this happen.
Bill?
Yeah, in kind of summary, it was in part what prompted our concern, the fact that this big effort is underway to improve things on Main Street, and they go hand in hand with this parallel deterioration. Anyway, so the planning commission meets on the 30th. So that'd be the next,
Has anybody spoken with the people that own the buildings, the properties? I mean, I don't even know the person that
Yeah.
owns. And what do they say?
not much, but we plan on talking to them some more. Him some more shortly. Not much has revealed itself, and we want to make sure that we're not just curious, we want to stop the blight, first and foremost, before we need to know why it's happening, but yeah, we're talking, we plan on talking more.
Mhm. And do you think that the downtown project will encourage the owners to want to make their properties more attractive and try to fill the spaces? Or do you think,
I'd certainly like to think so.
are there ulterior motives, like they're waiting for them to fall down so they can put up a condo or?
Those are concerns, yeah,
Yeah,
but of course, we don't know, but yeah.
Does this have anything to do with insurance rates of the flooding and all that? I mean, I know some of those buildings couldn't change hands because the insurance was gonna be, astronomical compared to elsewhere on the island. I mean, that must have something to do with maybe a couple of them.
Yeah, I'm sure that has something to do with,
So the cash buyers.
yeah, the cash buyers
do
don't have to
not
worry
need
about
any
it.
flood insurance.
No,
That's-
but
that's-
anyone taking out a mortgage. is gonna
That's
have
the
to
other
have flood insurance.
transformation on Main Street is folks who might be local, who would like to buy a building for starting a business. Can't necessarily afford to pay cash.
Yep.
And yet, if they get a mortgage, they're gonna have to have this very expensive flood
Huge,
insurance. So
Yeah.
we've shifted the attractiveness of these buildings for local ownership and local businesses to outside cash buyers, simply because of the cost of the insurance.
Sorry, Banner.
One other thing the town might consider, the vacant building ordinance idea is kind of the stick approach, but there is potentially a carrot approach of incentivizing them to do things. Usually cities do it with tax breaks. If you occupy this, you get this with a commercial business, you get a tax break of some sort, but there might be other carrots the town could think of other than just the potential stick.
unfortunately, we're running out of carrots.
Maybe there's federal money, to fix some of these buildings if the Main Street was declared a historic district. Could talk to Maine Preservation for someone about that, but also if properties change hands on, Main Street and the seller holds the mortgage, it's not required to have flood insurance, that's only with a bank.
Yes, in a private sale, I believe yeah, but,
And that has happened in some of these buildings.
It has?
The sellers have been holding mortgages,
okay,
hopefully not to their own detriment.
yeah, I just. Someone locally who wants to start a business and they have to get a traditional mortgage, it's just gonna be cost prohibitive. The insurance alone, you won't be able to make a profit. I don't see how, at least. And obviously with the pandemic, that drove out a couple businesses that we had
Mm.
gotten used to and they didn't come back, so. That's been part of it as well. I'm not opposed to an ordinance, but yeah, I think more thought has to be put into it. We don't want to create one that would then just cause us more legal trouble and fees later on. There's the aspect of enforcement. We have plenty of ordinances. I'm not saying we shouldn't have them because we don't enforce, we should enforce them, but we have trouble enforcing the ones we have now. But again, that doesn't mean we shouldn't move forward. But I will defer to the planning commission on this. If they're bringing it up, I'd like to get their input first. And so, Gabe,
I don't know anything about what I'm talking about, but I'm just, that's my.
that's what I do up here. I
disclaimer,
don't know what
yeah.
I'm talking about.
But I'm just wondering, it's probably a Banner or Ellen question, just thinking about the existing 30-foot commercial space requirement for the downtown buildings, could that be altered to,
It could be removed.
what's that?
It could be removed.
Well, I mean, could you, it says commercial space, but it doesn't say occupied commercial space. So is there something, if we're trying to move away from vacancy to occupancy, is there something that in that existing ordinance that could be altered to, because you're talking about creating vibrancy or generating interest in people investing in their properties, which I personally do believe that no one is investing now because we're not investing. I think once we start the project and have invested, people will see not just what we're doing, but they can then commence with their projects because our project will be done or underway. So I do believe that, but I'm just wondering about that existing ordinance, if there's something that can be altered within the language of that ordinance to strengthen it to say commercial space, but I don't know if you can mandate occupancy. I have no idea. Yeah, I can imagine.
Right, and we don't want to put an undue burden on those that are running businesses down there now, so. Yeah, there's an easy solution to it, but doesn't mean we won't try something, so.
I think you're right, they'll defer to the planning commission.
And then go from there.
Mhm.
But it's a very difficult situation we face.
Yeah.
Because if you look at downtown and, restaurants would be great. How do you pay $2,500 a month for what they wanted for rent for salt? And then have a 4-month season where you're making money?
Yeah.
It's a losing proposition.
And then pay your staff and everything else.
It's like a 4-week season.
So we really need to put a lot of thought where we're going, because whether we like it or not, we need more tourism, because that's probably where the money can be coming in. But we don't have the facilities to encourage it other than the island. And we could use a couple of good restaurants. We could use a few other things down there, but no one's gonna pay that kind of money to live on Main Street if they can't make them a dollar doing it.
George.
So just echoing Dave's point earlier, and Banner's as well. The whole reason that the downtown project came to be was the committee was started as a downtown revitalization committee. And that was 7 or 8 years ago. And what we realized pretty quickly was revitalization starts with the infrastructure. If we didn't have all the things that, are being done in place, no one was going to want to invest downtown. So maybe we need to be a little patient, as Dave says, let's get this downtown project done. Let's have the conversations with the existing business owners to try and bring them along in a positive way and get them excited about the fact that this new project is going to finish things. Maybe a vacancy ordinance is something to put in place in a milder way that can just serve as a stimulus, not a stick so much as an encouragement. But maybe there are financial ways that we can do a TIF downtown, for example, that might be able to have either tax rebates or some tax money go into some improvement. I don't know. I don't know anything about how that stuff works, but there must be ways, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel. This is not a new problem. Towns all across the country have been wrestling with this and dealing with it. Some have dealt with it well, some have not. I'd like to be one of the ones that does.
Mhm.
So maybe we can just be creative about it.
Yep. I
Plus,
agree.
it had to be the downtown project because none of us could keep pronouncing revitalization.
We like to keep it simple.
No tongue twisters.
All right, anything else on the vacant property ordinance? Okay, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks, Phil.
We'll move on to 8D, sign the transfer station bond documents.
I'm gonna start with you.
Okay.
So you are blue. We go to all the blue items.
Marge, do you need us all to sign that or just a quorum?
I just need a majority. I'm certainly, if you look at it and come in and sign it, that would be good, but.
Well, I'm gonna not. So,
Did you hear what she said?
She's only back for a week.
Oh, okay. I think I'm good, but thank you very much, Leslie.
sure.
Thanks, Gabe.
Thank you, guys.
See ya.
It's unlocked.
Oh, I forgot to leave the light on. Well, that ain't motel
Where's the wine party?
6.
Motel 6 is that?
He doesn't care. I dropped this last one in the driveway that smashed.
Thank you, Darryl.
Bye.
Bye, Brent.
Thanks,
Thank
Brent.
you.
See you, Brent.
There's two.
Just want to make sure I didn't miss one. Yeah, I thought I missed it.
Can I have a motion for signatures?
No, you don't.
Yes. Motion to sign.
I move we sign the transportation bond documents as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. This one I got, right? This one. Yeah,
Is there one up above on that same page, or is it?
I think,
Okay, yeah.
I think I got it.
Okay, and you guys are the red ones.
Can I take these off so we don't get
The
confused?
Mhm.
budget committee proposal. We had,
The ordinance?
Yeah.
I think all we did was change the
Sticker on
number.
green.
Oh,
That's
okay.
all we were doing, changing it from 9 to 5.
okay, okay, so everything else is.
Everything else was as before.
Yeah. But I do like the idea of them taking bigger lead in this thing than they have in the past, like, or maybe it's the past. Assuming
We're
they're
not allowed.
serious about it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, they,
Go ahead. Do that.
it helps to have more eyes on it.
Beautiful.
Also, these things can't improve it.
No, I.
I'm all set with this one. I really
No, I
covered your
still
pen
think
though.
It's good to have that,
Yeah,
and some more autonomy.
Okay, did you want to take my name off?
Sure.
Like I said, last year, you know, I
Okay.
just felt. Yeah, I think I've gone on for the ride, kind of, because I was just
that it?
totally unfamiliar with it,
think it-
but. I can see where
I think it looks like that.
I think there should be more ownership in budget committee.
mhm.
How did we get that? I don't know. But I think it'd be a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll be wrapped up in 25 minutes? Cause I gotta sign off at 6:45.
Yeah, that's fine. Yep,
Yeah, I'm
we'll-
about to here in like 10.
Um,
What are we
That's
covering?
my spectrum appointment. Oh, wow.
that's it. Right. It's this one. Yeah, okay. And I just need. Okay. And then where do we want to skip the budget?
What were we gonna cover tonight? In the budget workshop?
I have almost all of the budget done except for transfer station.
Do you think? If we met next week, it's just for budget,
Mm,
would
Yeah,
that
let's
give
do
you,
it that way.
would that give you enough time? Finish it up?
Oh, yeah, I just
Yeah.
have, I wanted to go over the capital project section. There's the donations, but that's not anything, and the transfer station is the big one.
So let's put off the budget workshop till next week. We'll meet specifically and just go over that.
mhm.
And this summary is almost all done. At this point, we're 2.3% above last year.
Well, that's.
We're not finished.
We're not done yet.
That's excellent.
But that's pretty darn good.
Yes,
So me, the 14th.
I would have been happy with 5%.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, the 14th. Let me just double check that. Missed those every Tuesday and.
Oh, gosh. Is that at 6?
5:30.
Oh,
What?
The generator
No,
for the
we'll-
town office is gonna be installed tomorrow.
Okay. All right, yeah, so we'll do next Tuesday at 5 for a budget workshop. Okay,
What's going on?
as long as,
It's fine with me.
are you free,
Yeah,
Marjorie?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There was something on there and I'm like, oh, what's that?
Okay. All right, then we'll move on to 10, report of town manager.
I don't have anything. I've been so busy.
That's okay.
Other than the generators being installed
The
tomorrow.
generator's being installed tomorrow. And does anybody have any questions about anything? I don't know. It just seems like I've been incredibly, every day is kind of a challenge. But anyway, it's all good, a lot of progress today, people coming in and signing easements for the down, but we've already reviewed all of that.
Have you scheduled some time off then?
I'm looking at flights.
Okay. So, fair enough. That's fine.
I got a brother in Myrtle Beach that said, yeah, come on down, so.
Okay,
Is the meeting tomorrow for the planning, is that still on then?
planning board is Wednesday.
Planning board is tomorrow night.
Yeah, and that's here?
Yes. Yes, at 7.
Yeah.
Right? Planning.
Planning board? No.
Oh, planning board is our 7, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
yes. I was in budget committee.
Or.
All right. I'm gonna move on to report of members then.
I have nothing.
Any communication with the sheriff's department on follow-ups on everything since the last meeting?
Oh, I did have a call about a house for rent, a year-round house. I passed that on to Paul Pinkham. Now, I don't know if they said that they had 2 people
Mm.
that they were looking at pretty seriously to hire. I haven't heard that they've hired anybody.
There's still
So-
was one that was closer to the end of that process. than
Yeah, they were
Right.
close, So
Right.
there was still some.
So
last
we
things
have the
they had to
apartment,
do.
it's a 2-bedroom apartment
Yep.
for one of them, but if the family will have to find a rent.
Yep.
And I did get a nice lead on one, which I passed on, but you know how it is. I'm not gonna say it openly who it is.
Right.
or
Mm-mm.
Where it is.
Yeah,
or
nope, we're
anything.
not- nope. Mum's the word.
It's mine.
Mm.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, you don't wanna put that out there. Or somebody will snap it up.
And Josh has agreed to attend next meeting, the 21st. For any updates, Josh will know.
Okay. Cool.
Good.
Anyone else?
I was just gonna ask Marjorie, when you said about easements, how, and I didn't interrupt Brent and
Mhm.
Gabe. Is everybody signing them and no problems with that?
No, a lot of people have questions, which is great.
Right,
Some people came in and had meetings, some people, they had Zoom meetings to talk about questions. I don't know of anybody that said, I'm not gonna sign or anything like
Good.
that, but there certainly have been a lot of questions about, well, what is specifically
What it
gonna
all
happen
means.
with my property,
Right.
But that's good, it's all good.
yeah,
As far as I'm concerned, it's been positive experience.
good.
Some people have just come in and, signed them and dropped them off.
Mhm.
But
What
certainly-
happens if someone refuses to sign one?
We'll cross that bridge when we come. to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
Let's
just
hope
put up a
we-
wall where the sidewalk used to be.
let's hope we don't have to deal with that.
Eminent domain.
I hope-
Oh, Lord. Well, I mean, basically, it's for water,
Wouldn't-
and
I wouldn't think there would be that much on people's property that we're looking to have an easement for, right? It's not like we're going into
right.
someone's backyard and taking that all.
Yeah, it's just to get, for the pipes and
Right.
all that stuff and,
Well, a lot of it is just temporary
And
construction
construction,
easements.
right.
Okay,
Um,
all right. Is that it?
Oh, yes.
Are you done? Good. I move we adjourn.
I was way somewhere.
All those in
else
favor?
just then.
Thank you, Jake and Leslie, for joining us.
Thanks.
See ya.
Have a good night.
Oh, I meant to say thank you to Millie too. Thank you, Millie.
How you doing?
You're welcome.
What was that? Memo?